The Man on Maple Trail. At 6:12 a.m., the sun had just begun to cut through the fog hanging over Maple Trail, the kind of quiet that made every footstep sound louder than it should. Daniel Mercer walked that trail every morning. 42 years old, divorced, childless, invisible. He wore the same gray hoodie, the same worn running shoes, and carried the same thought in his head. Keep moving. Don't stop. That morning he stopped. Halfway down the trail, near the bend where the creek narrowed, Daniel heard a sound that didn't belong to birds or wind. Ragged breathing, fast and panicked. He followed it off the path and found a woman collapsed in the dirt, her skin pale, her body shaking uncontrollably. She was choking, her eyes locked onto his, wide with terror. Her hands clawed at her throat. Daniel didn't hesitate. He dropped to his knees, wrapped his arms around her from behind, and drove his fist into her abdomen. Once, twice. On the third thrust, a piece of chewed food flew from her mouth, landing in the leaves. She collapsed forward, coughing violently, gasping for air. Daniel stayed until her breathing steadied. He asked her name, Emily, and if she could stand. She nodded weakly. He helped her to the bench near the trail and called 911. When he saw another walker approaching, he stepped back. He didn't wait for thanks. He didn't wait for the police. By 8:30 a.m., Daniel Mercer was the prime suspect in a violent assault. Emily Rhodes was found an hour later in the hospital with severe bruising on her ribs, internal bleeding, and a fractured cartilage near her sternum. She was barely conscious when doctors asked what happened. Through pain and morphine, she said the only thing she remembered clearly: "A man grabbed me from behind. That was enough." Security cameras near the trail entrance showed Daniel entering the park at 5:58 a.m. and leaving at 6:19 a.m. Witnesses remembered a man in a gray hoodie kneeling over a woman in the dirt. When police knocked on Daniel's door that afternoon, he didn't resist. He never did. The interrogation room was cold, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Detective Laura Keene studied him closely. His quiet voice, his lowered eyes, the way his hands shook just slightly as he spoke. "I was trying to help her," Daniel said. "She was choking." "Then why didn't you stay?" Keene asked. Daniel swallowed. "People panic when they see injuries. I didn't want trouble." Keene slid photos across the table. Dark purple bruises blooming across Emily's chest and ribs. "You call this helping?" Daniel flinched. "I did the Heimlich. I might have been too forceful. I was scared." There it was. Fear, guilt, silence. All the things that made men look dangerous. By nightfall, Daniel was charged with aggravated assault. The headline the next morning was merciless. Morning walker brutally attacks woman on popular trail. In jail, Daniel stopped sleeping. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Emily's face. Terrified, helpless. He wondered if he should have stayed. If he should have spoken louder. If saving a life was supposed to cost you your own. His public defender barely looked at him. The evidence seemed airtight. Injuries, witnesses, a suspect with no alibi beyond his own words. But Detective Keene couldn't let it go. Something didn't fit. Violent attackers didn't usually call 911. And the bruising pattern, though severe, was centered exactly where proper abdominal thrusts would land. She ordered a second medical review. The trauma surgeon hesitated before speaking. "These injuries," he said carefully, "are consistent with a correctly performed Heimlich maneuver, especially if the rescuer panicked or the victim was small." Keene felt a chill. Then came the lab report. Traces of peanut protein were found in Emily's airway. Emily was severely allergic to peanuts. She had been choking on a protein bar. When confronted again, Emily broke down. She remembered more now. The crushing pressure around her ribs. The sudden burst of air. The relief. "I thought I was being attacked," she sobbed. "I didn't understand. I was scared. I didn't see his face." The realization hit like a wave. The man she helped put in a cell had saved her life. Charges were dropped quietly. No apology from the headlines. No correction as loud as the accusation. Daniel was released after 13 days. He walked out of jail thinner, eyes hollow, carrying a plastic bag with his belongings. No one waited for him, except Detective Keene. "I'm sorry," she said. "We should have seen it sooner." Daniel nodded, but he didn't smile. "I'd do it again," he said softly. Even knowing this, Emily tried to reach him. Letters, messages, apologies. Daniel never responded. He returned to Maple Trail weeks later, walking slower now, more cautious. The bench where Emily had sat was empty. The fog still rolled in at dawn. People passed him without looking twice. They didn't know he was once a criminal. They didn't know he was a hero. And Daniel didn't correct them. Some men save lives. Some pay for it. And some stories, true ones, never fully get rewritten. This is Secrets Behind the Crime.